card from Ms. Blackman. She wants to fill out a card.
I'll wait.
It was a nice time.
So I got 4 members coming in.
Let me see this.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
I'll call to order the Warrensville Heights City School District Board of Education work session, Monday, October 8th, 2008. Treasurer Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba?
Here.
Mrs. Gator?
Here.
Mrs. Newman?
Here.
Ms. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Freeman?
Here, all are in presence. If you can, stand and face the flag, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Next on our board agenda is the 1.2. It's approval of the agenda. Board, have you had a chance to review this work session agenda for tonight, October 8th, 2018? Is there any questions, additions, or any add-ons to this agenda or any?
Just a question. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Mimi? Barbara? Michelle? Okay. At this time, I would need a motion to approve 1.2, approval of the agenda for October 8th, 2018. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve item 1.2, the agenda for the October 8th, 2018 working session board meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Mewman. Board, the floor is open. I'm sorry. Is there any questions about the agenda at all? Superintendent Jolly, is there any additions?
No, sir.
Dr. Rock, are we sure that we have all the sufficient funds?
Yes.
Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator? Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mrs. Elba?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes, a motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is 1.3. It's public participation. Outside was a card. I believe, Ms. Blackman, did you get a chance to? Okay. Okay, you can come to the podium. Just state your name, address, and topic.
Dorothy Blackman, 19213 Wakefield Avenue, and I'm here to talk about the regional dinner, awards dinner that I attended. Just wanted you to know it was really a great dinner and well attended. And it was awesome that 4 minority school districts received awards, which Warrensville was one of them. Also, I was disappointed to learn that one of our board members found it necessary to contact the regional manager to get the criteria and the reason districts paid for the honorees. That was very disappointing to me because the meeting that I attended, I thought all of that had been explained to the board members. So I'm here tonight to give Dr. Rock my check and my husband and myself. And I want to say to you board members who did not want to pay for the dinner, shame on you. And but thanks, but no thanks, and you all have a good evening.
All right. No, hold on. Ms. Blackman? Did you?
I know it wasn't you.
Well, I just wanted.
I don't have.
Okay, all right. All right. She can walk out. That's. Okay, whatever. Next on our board agenda is our actual treasurer's report. Number 2 is treasurer budget and finance review. Dr. Rock. Problem? Dr. Rock?
Oh, okay. Ready?
Yeah. Mimi or Dr. Rock? approved, Dr. Runt. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Thank you.
Whatever. Don't matter. No biggie. She know it wasn't me. Could have been me. Welcome, Ms. Jones. Appreciate you coming.
Okay. So tonight we have the 5-year forecast. This is the draft, and it'll be board approved next regular board meeting.
22nd?
Yeah, so it'll still could be, it'll still be refined. If there's any changes I make to the draft, I'll let you know, just like we normally do. The 5-year forecast, oh, I'm sorry. I'll hand this out so everybody has a copy of this.
Here, we can.
So everybody should have a copy of the draft 5-year forecast that's going along.
Which one?
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure. I should have allowed you to address that.
Okay, so the 5-year forecast, that's gonna be approved next board meeting. Here's some quick facts on it. All 5 years are funded, which is really good for school districts. You may see some of our neighboring districts where year 4 or 5 are negative years, and that means they have to go for levy, so this is good news for us. Also, we're within the current resources up to next school year, which is good. That next school year would be the 11th year in a row that we're within current resources. The emergency levy is up for renewal in fiscal 2021, and there's no increase in taxes on that, but that's on the 5-year forecast also. Real estate revenue is hitting healthy collections, and the 2017 COPS payments are encumbered and projected, and that's important for us to give to all of our financing rating agencies, and it's part of the requirements. So with all 5 years being funded, you'll see that line 15.010, unreserved fund balance, June 30th. Here's all of the amounts, and they're all positives. So that is great for our school district. That depicts the year-end carryover balance. So this year, we're projected at 28.5 million, next year, 29.3, the following year, 29.6, 28.7, 26.6. Within current resources up to fiscal year 2020, if you look at line 6.010, excess revenue over under expenditures, this depicts the amount that's left over after total current revenue less total current expenditures. If your expenditures are more than your current revenue, then you're deficit spending. The draft forecast lists the following years within current revenue, which will be this year is projected at $1.1 million, and next year at $803,000. So more favorable information for our 5-year forecast. Also in that line is when the deficit spending starts. It starts at a small amount in 2021 at $898,738. The reason I say that's small, it's 3 years out, so we could do a lot of changes now to circumvent that. And also, we have some future information that you'll see that'll be coming up that'll address that also. Well, actually, it's right there. The projections for savings from the consolidation of our buildings with the new buildings, we're projecting a savings there. But we really can't project it yet until the metrics are done and the schematic of the design is done to where we could really see where we're going to have savings. And then that number will become more actual as we hit it. So that's not projected in yet, so we're expecting that. And that would be in the year 2021. So that may eat up the deficit right off the bat and reduce overall expenditures. Also, the district will seek further savings in operations to delay the deficit spending in the current year and next year. That's Mr. Jolly and myself looking for ways that we could save money and be more efficient with the financial opportunities for the district. And the projected new revenue streams may be greater than what we actually receive. Some of our revenue, we're conservative with what's coming in. Like, for instance, Amazon may come in higher than what we projected, because it's the first time it's ever coming in. And on that, we're expecting that soon, because they're up and running now. So our projections may be on the low side, so more may come in, and that'll also help our 5-year forecast. The projection of the renewal for fiscal year 2021, the 5-year emergency levy will be up for renewal. November 2020 is the latest that we could put on the ballot, because it'll have to start collecting in 2021. So this is in the future. This is a 5-year levy that requires a renewal every 5 years. There's absolutely no tax increase. It's a renewal. And this levy has been renewed every 5 years since 1990. So you'll see that, that's down in this section on the 5-year forecast, where you see these few numbers in the outlier years. That's where the renewal of that gets projected. And since we've renewed so many times since 1990, I feel confident about putting the renewal in there. Real estate tax revenue, we're returning to healthy collection rates, and you'll see that very soon. The total revenue actually collected, you can see it's on the rise. 2016, we are at $14.4 million. 2017, $15.4 million. And 2018, 17.7. Now, in those prior years, we also absorbed some major valuations of hospitals that went exempt, and there was a major case where they just quit paying their taxes, so that affected our collection rate and how much taxes we were paying. And then now it's returning back to our normal values, and everybody's paying up now, so it's paid up. So you can see that's a 15% increase. 17.7 is more towards our normal collection that we should be getting. 58% of our total revenue is from real estate taxes. And you can see the collection rates. And again, we're coming out of the recession. 2014, now this is on residential, so this is personal homeowners, okay? Residential collection rate in 2014 was 66.7%. It went up to 81% in 2015, 76% in 2016, 83% in 17, and just 83.6% in 2018. Now this is the volatile side, the businesses and industrial, because this could be like the Randall Park Mall when it was out of business. No one was paying the taxes on it. Then when it was sold, then the taxes are caught up. So that's why we see that jump in tax revenue. So in 2014, we were 62% collected. 2015, only 53% of taxes were collected. 2016, 70%, and then you can see it rising to 77%, and now we're at 92%. And again, that's the results of people paying up, their businesses paying up their taxes, and that exemption case that we had on our evaluations. Here you could see that our total property valuation by class, residential is 26%, so personal residents foot 26% of the tax bill, and businesses pay 70%, and public utility is 4%. Those are like if you had like utility power stations, they're throughout the district. The 2017 COPS finance payments are encumbered, which is required by our financing. You can see that this is in line 4.05 and 4.06. Sort of, it's almost in the middle of the page. It's down in this little section here, just about where I had the draft stamp. And you can see that last year we had an interest-only payment. That was our first payment. And then this year we have principal and interest payments. They range from $920,000 a year to $969,000. And those are on our 5-year forecast. So that's a new line item that we talked about a lot. You know, is that going to be on the 5-year forecast? Now it's on here. It's permanent. Yes. COPS is a certificate of participation. And what it is like a sale leaseback. What's that? It's a sale leaseback on steroids. It's a big sale leaseback. So you know, like a sale leaseback where the asset is collateralized, and then there's an investor that invests in that, and then they lease the asset back to the entity, and at the end, the entity owns it. It's like a rent-to-own. The pre-K to 5 building. So by doing that, we didn't have to go to the taxpayers, and we were able to finance a whole building on our own, and now we go to the taxpayers for phase 2. Certificates of participation. So it's like bond investors, but what they're doing is they're actually owning it as a landlord. And then it's being rented back to us. More than likely, it's usually 1 or 2 large investors that go into that. So that's why they call them certificates of participation. It's pretty cool. And then, so in summary, again, on the 5-year forecast, it's funded for all 5 years, which is really good for us. Current resources, we're within current resources up to 2020. Emergency levy is forecasted on there. Real estate revenue is hitting healthy collections. You can see our collection rates coming back, which is real good for the district. And the COPS payment is encumbered in the projections. Are there any questions on the details of the 5-year forecast?
Are you done with your?
Well, the 5-year forecast part.
okay.
There's a couple more slides.
No problem.
I do
Board?
have one question.
Go ahead.
Dr. Rock, on, slide 5. I can't hear you. Slide 5. It's at the.
Can we close the door?
It's the fourth. I just wanted to know, are you and Mr. Jolly already kind of working through ideas and plans that the district would have to seek further operational changes?
Yes, we're always working on that.
Okay,
Because we know what we do today will create savings in the future, so we're always looking for that.
so okay, so you're currently working, we have something just in case.
Yes.
Excuse me, I can't hear what you're saying.
So sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of voice. I just asked on the 5th slide, the bullet that reads, the district will seek further savings in operations to delay deficit spending in the current and next school year. I just asked Dr. Rock, are he and Mr. Jolly working on a plan in the event we do have to deal with deficit spending? And he said, yes, they are.
And our deficit spending policy will help us greatly, because that documents the steps that we're gonna take, depending on where the deficit happens.
Okay, thank you. That was all.
Board, is there any other questions on the 5-year forecast?
I do, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Board Member Elder.
So, what type of changes are you looking to reduce or prevent as far as the deficit? Because if you know that, and this has been said by numerous treasurers, and you've said it yourself several times over the last 12 months, if we know that there's a deficit coming, what type of preventions are we looking at now, as opposed to in your paper you said in possible projected deficit in year 2 or action plan to be approved? Why wouldn't we start looking at it now? Or
That's the deficit's policy. We could jump into that right now if you want. That's why I
We
was
have it on
explaining
item
how
5.
it'll work.
okay,
But yeah, right now, if the deficit, and the way that we have the policy written, if the deficit happens in year 3 of the 5-year forecast, the superintendent and treasurer will start to seek savings. If the deficit happens in year 2, then we come to the board with an action plan that gets board approved,
okay,
that has multiple avenues that we could utilize to handle that deficit.
okay.
But we're always looking out for savings in supplies or purchase services. Those are some of the low-hanging fruit that we could try to maximize without affecting the operationals or the educational program.
Okay. And another question, at what point do we stop doing renewals? We talked about this over the last several years. And you even stated several months back about that once they're paid off, then to not seek renewal. But now I'm hearing that you're saying, especially as far as the emergency one, looking at it, we have lots of levies already on the books of things that, in your opinion, if they were paid off now, will it hurt the district? And if it doesn't, why do we keep seeking renewals? And if it does, then where is the precaution at so we don't have to keep doing it? Because we've got, what, 6 or 7 already on the books, and then you're talking about potential 1, maybe 2 more in the coming months. And then anything else can pop up. I mean, it seems that we have a lot, so, but this is just I'm just asking a question.
First of all, the renewals aren't an expenditure for the district. It's a levy that comes in. That's revenue for the district, okay? Number two, is when it's a renewal, that stays on our books, and it's a collection that we need. If we didn't have that renewal, and when it comes time to renew that levy, we'll show the district that, hey, we're gonna have $8 million less every year if this isn't renewed. And it's no increase in taxes, because you're at that tax rate right now, okay?
So the emergency one you're saying is 8 million, or is that just a guesstimation?
$7.9 million comes in
So
on
that's for
that.
the emergency. So what's the regular renewal then?
That's the one that we're renewing. If
No,
you
no,
don't
no.
renew it, we'll lose $7.9 million.
But that's for the emergency levy that's on there. But then you also have some other regular renewals, and then we have the recreation that's not going anywhere because we owe lots of money on that. If the
There's no recreational levy. There's only one renewal. It's this one, the emergency levy.
So there's just one emergency, so there's
That's the
another.
only one that comes up for renewal.
No, I know that, Dr. Rock. My question is, we have an emergency one, and then we have several other ones. They're
That are
not up for,
continuing.
right, they're not up for renewal yet, but at what point do we say we don't need it, or do we just keep renewing forever and a day?
Okay, well, there's only one that's renewed every 5 years.
Okay,
All of the others are continuing levies,
okay,
okay? That means they stay on your books forever,
okay,
okay? If you were to cancel those, somewhere in time, you're gonna need a new operation levy to replace that anyways.
right,
And the millage will be a lot higher than it was when it was passed
Okay.
30, 20, 10 years ago.
okay. So now, and I will say this, as far as that, rec center, there is a levy on that. Several boards back voted on that levy, so there is one out there for that.
No, it expired.
It expired.
Yes,
Cut it off.
it expired. How many years, we knew
Like
that because
2010
Mr. Love
or
had us
something.
look at it.
2010.
All right, thank you.
Also, when is the bond issue from 2099? When is that? When will we have that paid off?
24?
6 years.
6 more years.
2024, I thought. Oh, yeah. I did have a question. What was it? So we've already paid on the COPS certificates of participation for the new pre-K. We paid the interest payment.
Yes,
So actually, in 2019, we'll pay the full 969,000 or whatever?
yes, it'll be principal and interest.
Okay, all right. And then, that was about it. I had something else, but I'll bring it back.
If you look at some of your neighboring districts, they have renewals. There's some that are, they have a renewal every year. And then it's very difficult to pass a new levy if you need new funding. Because what happens with the levy cycle,
I need to go.
and you'll see that in my article that's coming up, the levy cycle goes like this. So you would pass a new levy, it's gonna collect more than what you need, because as expenditures grow, the levy can't grow. The levy collects the same amount every time, okay? So the levy collects this amount, and you might be below here, expenditures go up higher, and then you deficit spend, and then you get to a point where you can't deficit spend anymore without having a new levy, and then the levy cycle starts again. Luckily here, we're not really on the climb, but we're not on the fall. We're still up here with the roller coaster, you know, we've never hit the ground, which is what we want to prevent. And any government, as long as you spend within your current resources, you'll never need new money. So that's why we call that step one of the deficit spending. If we can control our spending to where we spend within current resources, we won't deficit spend, so that fund will be there. Now, maybe we might deficit spend it a little bit and then recorrect it and still control our own destiny by controlling our deficit spending. Because then if we start to deficit spend too much, then eventually you need a new levy. You have to go back to your taxpayers. So if you canceled levies or took those off, it's just inevitable that you're gonna need those new levies more sooner than later. And the other thing is even though we have our total voted millage, if you look at your tax bill, the effective millage is a lot lower. That's because levies can only collect a certain dollar amount and a certain millage. You can never go above that millage. So now, just recently, when our valuations went up 12%, your taxes aren't gonna go up 12%. The valuation went up 12%, now the county auditor says, well, wait a minute, at this millage, it's gonna collect more than what the levies were meant to collect. So then they lower that tax rate, and that's what's called your effective rate. So like on that, on the emergency levy, it's 7.9 mils. When our values go up 12%, the county auditor might say, well, I only need to collect 6.5 on that. So they lower the tax rate. So and the only increase you're gonna see is on inside millage. And just like I presented last board meeting, on a $60,000 house with a 12% increase, it'll go up $1 per month, $12, which is nowhere near 12% increase. Does that help explain? It gets pretty in-depth, but we're sitting in a very, very favorable position for the school district. So the deficit spending policy, whoops. And I could pass out I put it in the, oh, no, it's not for me. Some copies. The main two sections of the deficit spending policy, and Pepples and Wagner took it and put it right in, wrote it in with our policy. Step one, and that's what we've concentrated on here with the 5-year forecast. When there's a projected deficit in year 3 of the current year 5-year forecast, the treasurer and superintendent will acknowledge the necessity, and it'll be written into the 5-year forecast that we're working on a plan addressing that. So right now, the top of our list is once the new building gets built, we know there's some anticipated savings there. Once we're finished with schematic design and we can come up with that projection, we're going to put that into the 5-year forecast. It's too early to put in right now because we don't have a drawing, we don't have anything to compare that to. So once we have some comparisons and we have some data, we will put that in. Then, if we do that in the 5-year forecast next time around, because this time there's no deficit in year 2. Year 2 is good. But if we come back in the fall, or I mean in the spring, and year 2 is negative, then Mr. Jolly and myself will put a plan together that will look at multiple things to eliminate that deficit in 2 to 3 years. So we will look at budget reductions, new tax revenue streams are new levies, alternative increases in other revenue sources, a combination of all of those, and then also board acceptance of a carryover cash balance, ensuring 6 months of cash carryover for the school district. For us, 6 months is half of what we spend, so that's still a substantial carryover. And having that in at least the first 3 years of the projected 5-year forecast. So these are the steps that we could do, but the easiest is for us to stay in step 1, or not even have step 1, and control our own destiny. And then just the last thing, I just want to remind us, November 6th, the bond permanent improvement levies on the ballot. It's going to fund a 6 to 12 grade campus for the district. Phase 1 was financed without a tax increase. And that issue 9 will cost the average taxpayer $12 per month on a $60,000 home.
Is there any other questions for Dr. Rock, board, on the 5-year? Or the deficit spending? And you're going to bring this to the board on the 22nd, you said?
Yes,
With
yes.
the
I
actual-
wanted to give another draft because there
Go
was.
right ahead.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Jones. I know it's the first time you're seeing everything, and I'm happy to meet as much as possible if you want to, if there's anything that you need to learn.
Background information reporting, and I can always tie it into your numbers, so I don't have a lot of questions.
Okay, thank you.
Everything I need to go back and refer to what you're talking about, so.
Thank you. If you see anything, feel free to reach out. That's why we work together as a collaborative.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Next on our board agenda is number 3, the 2020 strategic plan. Superintendent Jolly, you're going to talk about 3.1 facilities and where we're at in the process.
Yes, I'd like to give an update on Randallwood. Today was the last day that the basketball courts will be accessible to the community. The construction firm will be closing the gates tonight or tomorrow morning. The hoops will be coming down tomorrow for sure. Also, asbestos removal will begin the week of October 29th. So they will start with asbestos removal the week of October 29th. Demolition will begin in December. So the building, anticipate the building will be down by middle of January, but we'll start tearing it down, and the library, both down in December. The anticipated groundbreaking for the new facility would be April 1st, 2019. April 1st, 2019 is the anticipated groundbreaking. The anticipated completion date is July 30th, 2020. So this is about a 14 to 15 month project for them to complete the building. What's coming to the board is the CMR contract, the construction manager contract, on the 22nd. As we get the contract, as it's finalized, Dr. Rock will forward it to the board so you can review the contract. We also will share it with Pebbles and Wagner so they can review the contract. But I did want to state today we had a meeting dealing with the construction, and it was reported that construction costs are about 15% higher than last year. That's due to the increased building that's all around the area. So they're having issues with finding contractors because there's so much work at this time. So that is something that the team is dealing with because the prices for contractors have went up because there's so much work available across Northeast Ohio. So with those costs, Dr. Rock and Mr. Zanoni are looking at all ways to save money on the construction without compromising our extra classroom spaces. And we will have a full report at the meeting on the 22nd. With Mr. Zanoni will be here, along with the architects, to review what our challenges are with the costs due to construction at this time is high. That concludes my report about the facilities. Again, as Dr. Rock stated, the issue 9 is on the table. The bond levy committee has been out canvassing the community, passing out literature on Saturday. It was a great turnout to pass out literature around the community, and we are pushing forward. And with this building plan and situation, it is just looking around the area. Euclid currently the cost is high in Euclid. They had to go back because of it's the construction costs. Also, the tariffs that the government have on steel has raised costs also. That is a major raising the cost is the tariffs that have been placed on steel coming from foreign places. So we're dealing with a lot of different factors, but again, we're going to persevere. The team is working very hard to figure out the best way, because last year this time when we went to New York, no one anticipated to be tariffs on steel, and then just the amount of work that's going on. The economy has been spurred. There's a lot of work going on, which makes a lot of competition. When there's a lot of competition, raises prices. So we're dealing with those two factors as we finalize the final number for the building, which we will have by the 22nd. We'll present it to the board for approval. Dr. Rock, you'd like to add anything?
Also, Berea and what's Sandusky, they're going through the same things. And then even my home district, Riverside, which started their project way before all of this was going on, they're hitting the same thing with the market expansion. I think that's what they're calling it, the growth in the market, which I guess translates to higher construction costs.
Or is there any question for Superintendent Jelly or Treasurer Dr. Rock about the facilities update and where we're at on it? Any questions about the pre-K to?
I have some questions.
Go right ahead, Board Member Bill.
So what was the original price before the 15% possible increase? Does anybody know?
That was 26 million, but I don't know, Dr. Rock, do you have
It's
it?
about 27 million.
It's 27 million.
So now we're looking at possible another 15% on the 27 million?
Well, we added 2.6 million when we added the extra classrooms that we anticipate we need. So that put us up about close to 30.
So if it's not passed, as you stated in the last board meeting, then the additional classes won't go on, so then it'll still be at the 27 million plus 15%.
No, if the bond doesn't pass, the building will have to be sized
be
down
right,
to
it'll be
meet our
smaller.
budget.
We'll have those
with
extra
the
classrooms.
money that we
At
have.
what dollar amount? And is that the 15% on top of that dollar amount, or is it?
It'll be probably 15% on that 27. So we'll still have to cut some prices, cut some things in the building. But then we have to revisit our building plan because we might not close all these buildings because we would need the additional space. So we would need to revisit the master facilities plan if the bond doesn't pass, because we wouldn't have the space in the new building to accommodate pre-K to 5.
Okay.
So we'll revisit the plan.
So, worst case scenario, if it doesn't, it's 27 mil. Best case scenario, if it does, is 30 mil plus 15%. Right? Is that what I'm
We'll have
hearing?
a final number, we'll have a final number at the next
They're still
meeting.
working on the
Yeah,
final
still
number.
working on it. We're not exactly honed in, but I did want to report to the board they're anticipating 15%.
Okay. Second question, what type of fundraising did the levy committee do?
We received donations. The levy committee received donations from various different people.
Do we know how much total was received
The bond committee received about $7,000.
in donations?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And this is all documented?
It is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not on our books, it has nothing to do
It's
with
not on our books, it's on the bond.
No, I know it's
Separate.
not gonna be on your books, it's
Separate.
gonna be on the levy committee books,
Correct,
but
correct.
those are eventually gonna be open to the public, so I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, we want them to be open, so
Oh, yeah, it gets reported.
yeah, they have to report them.
County.
I think the reporting date is October 20-something too, so yeah, all the donations are recorded by our treasurer, Alicia Durrett.
Any other questions, board? Or-
No, I'm good, thank you.
I mean, you're one person, I'm asking.
No, I thought you was talking to me.
Oh, no, I was just asking anybody else.
No, just, Mr. Zanoni will be there to address some of the concerns.
Yes, he'll be here. Yes, ma'am.
Save my questions for that.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Mueller?
I don't have any.
I'm fine.
President?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reck. Thank you, Mr. Jolly. Next on our board agenda, we can skip full board work session, is number 5, unfinished business. I'm going to let Superintendent Jolly address that. Policy 3213, student super.
Yes, I just wanted to just share with the board, with policy 3213, I want to start a task force with WEA, OPSI, students, a parent, and administration to address this policy. We want to review the policy. This is about student interaction with teachers and faculty members, use of text messages and so forth, interactions. And just want to start a task force and just see if any of them have any recommendations on how we can strengthen that policy moving forward. So I just want to announce to the board, with your blessing, that we move forward with this task force and that we'll be able to report out in November meeting what our recommendations would be to address this policy.
Or do you have any question about the policy and Superintendent Jolly seeking a task force to possibly bring some recommendations to this board about bettering the student supervision as far as text is, communication, outside the district, inside the district?
Questions, just a comment.
Go right ahead.
I just want to thank Mr. Jolly for taking the time to do this. Over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of instances as a district where communication between staff and the student probably should have been handled differently. So I think what he's doing, could potentially help us to eliminate some of the problems that we've seen. I want to thank you for taking the time, Mr. Jolly.
Yes, ma'am. We will seek the presidents to make recommendations for the committee, and we will have a middle school student and a high school student on the committee.
Oh, good.
Board, is there any other question of Superintendent trying to get together this task force to go over that policy, bring to the board? Mr. Muehlman, any questions about that?
No.
Ms. Elba? I'm sorry. Vice President? I think it's a good thing. I did get a chance to talk to alumni and former board president of Twinsburg, Mark Curtis, and he was saying that they're doing that too. So they're looking into something similar to this, and he brought it to my attention, and I wasn't aware of it like 2 weeks ago, but that's something in Twinsburg, and I know that's them, and I'm a Warrensville guy, I'm blue and gold, but that's something they're looking at in the residents of Twinsburg, and they have had some cases with infractions that they're looking at. So. All right, next on our board agenda is 5.2. I know Michelle had asked, but Dr. Rock, you did seek the advice of our actual council, Pebble and Wagner, and you had proposed a deficit policy. You want to speak a little bit to that, or?
Yeah, I had it in my
okay.
presentation, I'm sorry.
All right.
It just,
And you did get, I
it
seen
voted
you
so
got
low with
literature
the
from
5-year
Daniel
forecast. What's
Latner?
that?
You did get some information from Daniel Latner?
Yes,
Policy?
he says it all looks good.
Okay, all right, okay. And you're still working on it, or it'll be completed by the 22nd?
Well, that's the final that I passed out tonight, so we can, put
Okay.
it up for the boards.
All right, and then, 5.3 is Board Service Fund recommendations. I know, Dr. Rock, you had some suggestions, and I know Ms. Gator had mentioned it in an email. You want to touch base on that, Dr. Rock, about some of the recommendations for Board Service Fund for the 2019 school year?
I just reprinted some of my slides from when we first talked about it, just so you have
Okay.
for reference. I think some of the
Thank you.
things that we discussed was to consider a policy that all seminars require prior board approval. This way the board is knowledgeable of who's going where and what's going where. Oh, is there-
Where we starting at?
Mr. Jolly, I'm sorry.
Where we starting at, Dr. Rock?
Well, I was just gonna go to the action plan at the last page
There you go. Okay, I'm with you. Action Plan, Board Service Fund.
to see if the board would want to consider a board policy that all seminars require prior board approval. I've seen this at other districts. They would just bring it to the board would approve it. At that point in time, they could approve who's going where, who's staying,
I like it.
approve the reimbursements at the same time. Then also, there's the other part of the law where it's seminars or expenses incurred by board members prior to board approval will require board approval prior to any reimbursement, but you could do that also at the beginning if you approve the travel and then bring back the expenditures and we could board approve it again. But this way, it establishes a timeline and it memorializes the data so we could keep a running tab. And we could just put it right on your agenda and you could see all the data throughout the year from the organizational meeting all the way to December. But it's up to the board. Also, in the organizational meeting, you could set up your expectations of the board service fund. Also, you can put in your board policy what is reimbursable and what isn't. And then also consider a placeholder. I know I'm just throwing this all out there.
Right.
Consider a placeholder on your work sessions or every board meeting that has a placeholder for the board to approve upcoming board professional development, and then also has a section for the board to report back. And then just have that as a standing placeholder on your agendas for the board meetings. So those were some of the concepts I threw out there for the board's discretion.
Board, do you have any questions for Dr. Rock on some of his proposals going into the next year for our board service fund? Can be more efficient, and we can have a better gauge, and his department can have a better gauge on us doing our actual professional development. Any
So,
questions? Go ahead.
Just have a comment.
Go ahead.
So, in January, I mentioned this to you all, and you all blew it off. Nobody wanted to discuss it. I gave you guys emails from the state auditors as well as the Ohio State Department of Education. And I'll forward you guys the emails in case anybody gets a little amnesia or doesn't remember. However, to do a board approval on who goes where, you can't do a board approval and stop a board member from getting professional development. Now, you can look at the figures and go from there, but if somebody wants to go to however many or whatever, 2, 10, 30, whatever, you can say we're not going to be allocated over this, but then everybody has to keep in mind that every year all prices increase, but that service fund stays the same. So hotels increase, airfare increases, and these conferences increase. So I'm just throwing this out there.
No,
These are just comments, and I'm
that's
just
fine.
throwing it out
I
there.
didn't hear Mr. Rock said that they couldn't go.
No,
It
but
was just the information as a board. We're a team of 5. So if I'm going somewhere, I feel I should tell you, Barbara, Tracy, and Mimi.
Right.
I feel, that's just my
Oh,
feeling.
no. I'm not saying that. I think that's an idea, but he said have board approval. Correct me, did you not say that, Dr. Rock?
Yes.
Okay,
I
that's what I
think-
thought. That's what he said.
But what I've seen boards do is this 20,000, and the reason it's never been changed or indexed In other words, you know, like in the IRS, when they say, hey, this year you can deduct this amount, now next year they increase it by $500, it's indexed for inflation. The reason they never inflated this was because technically, it's for expenses of members of such boards of education actually incurred by the member in the performance of their duties. So if you go to a seminar and we make the arrangements and pay for it through the school funds, that's not part of the 20,000.
Correct.
But now what boards have done is they've said, and this is what this board has done, at least from my interpretation from my 2 years here, is they've said, we want it to be $20,000 to be the budget, no matter if it's reimbursable expenditures or not. That's why we're never cited by the auditors, because the auditors will come in and they actually look to make sure that individual reimbursements to the board members are not over $20,000.
Right.
But individual reimbursements are gonna be your mileage, any meals, or if there's like a extra thing that you pay for yourself that we reimburse you on. So that's why the 20,000 has never been changed. So what we could do is we could treat that as our reimbursables, you know, and report on that. And if it's board approved for you to go to Capitol Conference, I go cut the check, that's not
National
part of
School
the
Board said, right.
20,000. But at least that gives the board gives me permission to pay for that.
Right.
Yes, the board can't prevent anybody from going, but I think what we're looking at here is the reimbursement of paying someone or expecting to be paid for going to something. That's what where you need the board approval.
Right.
So you can go to something every day and pay for it yourselves, but when it comes to where the district's gonna pay for it, it should be board approved.
So can I jump in?
Go right ahead.
And ask a question?
Yep.
So what I heard you say is of that $20,000, the only thing that really comes out of that is just the reimbursements, meals,
Mileage.
mileage.
That's where we can't go over
Okay.
20,000. So we're always
For
well
5
well
members.
below that.
Right.
Right. So then the cost of the conference would come out of general fund.
As long as it's board approved and we pay
And
for it.
And we did it
That
prior to,
is
prior to.
where the board approval should come in, because we're taking money from general fund.
Prior to.
And I don't think that any, board members should be able to just go to any and every conference without some kind of discussion amongst the board. Even if it's just to say, yeah, we think that's a great idea, go ahead and go and bring back the information, or we might say, that doesn't really seem like something that's gonna fit our current mission and vision. So we did discuss in the beginning that we would come to the board when we're attending different conferences.
I recall.
And, yeah, and I know that hasn't been happening. Some people.
Correct.
So at any rate, I for one think that bringing it to the board, for approval, and I like the word approval, is something that we should memorialize and make sure that we're taking action. And in the event that a member decides to go to a conference without getting the prior approval, now they have to come to the board to say, hey, I need these expenses paid. And they can explain at that time why they didn't get the approval in advance.
Yeah, you could still come back subsequently, but no school district funds should be expended until it's board approved.
Especially with everything that we've got going on right now, we do want professional development, but we have to be physically responsible. I think that a board member spending $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 themselves within one fiscal year to attend conferences is a bit much. Unless we all agree that this is something that we want to do. So I still, maintain that we have to be mindful of the amount that we're spending.
And that's where I've seen this at a district where 4 out of the 5 board members had 20 to 25 years experience. And they had this running like a fine-tuned machine. They utilized it, they talked about where they were gonna go. Then if they found out all 5 of them were going, they'd say, maybe we should divide and conquer. It was very productive.
Yeah, and I know that's how Bedford does it. Bedford has discussions at their meetings, when it comes to professional development. So Dr. Rock, would you be able to kind of, decide.
Well, we're looking at 2019, I mean.
Would be what's reimbursable, what would need to be submitted, and maybe bring that back to the board.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I know we know meals and things like that, but there might be some other things that
Could be.
we might bring up.
Well, can I have a comment now?
Hold on, one moment, Vice President Mitchell.
I just want us to be careful as a board. I don't have an issue with what's been presented in the action plan. I don't have an issue with, requiring approval. I just want us all to remain mindful of the fact that what one of us feels is professional development for themselves versus what the board feels
Correct.
is we would need to say why we are negating, because if I say that I want to go to, I'm just gonna pick the treasurer's conference that they just went to, I would not be happy if the board told me I could not attend. So I think if we as board members state that we'd like to attend said seminar or conference or what have you, and we tell why we want to attend, I would feel very uncomfortable with the board saying, no, one of us could not attend. I believe that we do need to come and share first what we're looking at, what we're asking to
Prior to.
attend prior to.
Yep.
But I would be very uncomfortable with saying, because there's an equity conference that I looked at last, I don't know, was it July, in New Orleans, and I really wanted to go, but because I wasn't fully understanding how that $20,000 was, and I continued to ask Dr. Rock about it, I didn't even bring it to the board.
Michelle had a question.
So I'm just stating for the record, I am attending the Advocacy Institute in January, February, whenever it is. And
It's
I
the
would
end of
encourage-
January.
It's in January?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I would encourage everybody to go. If you want to know about your legislation and about things that's affecting Ohio and Cuyahoga County, you probably will want to attend too. But I will be in attendance.
So,
Ms. Muehlman, hold on.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms.
You know
Muehlman.
what, we need to just be consistent in what we do. And we need to be able to report back. All 5 of us don't have to go to every seminar.
You always said that. You always said that.
One person, Michelle says she's going to
The
Advocacy.
the Advocate Institute. She should be able to report back, give us the literature, let us read it, and she can report it. It doesn't, if we looking at general fund and we're trying to save money, and like, Ms. Gator said, we got a lot on our plate right now. So, a lot of these seminars are excellent seminars, don't take me wrong. But we need to be consistent as to who goes and how often and you shouldn't want to send the same person all the time. The same person shouldn't want to go to the seminar. She loved this seminar here, I don't have any problem with her going.
Mhm.
But I want her to come back, give us the information, and give us an opportunity to read what's out there. You know, I didn't go to the CUBE conference, but I'm waiting for material, and you guys are also waiting, because I want to read about it.
I got material.
And you did give me this,
I
but,
got more than that.
huh?
I got more than that.
Oh, okay. I asked for the information because I didn't go.
Correct.
And
But as a board, I wanted us to discuss it, and we had 3 members going. So on the
Okay,
22nd,
I enjoy reading.
I got you. But on 22nd, me, Tracy, and Mimi will give our
Okay,
take on what we did. I mean, I didn't do it this one because we had just got back, putting things together.
okay.
But you will have, and Michelle too, if she wants it, all the information you
And I just
want.
want people just to be mindful of all the things that we're trying to do right
Okay,
Thank you for, just let me follow up really quick with what.
go right ahead,
you said,
because I got to say
because,
something too.
When it comes to general fund, we have to be fiscally responsible. I don't think it looks good for us as a board to say that we spent $40,000 on, for professional development. And I know that might be an extreme number.
That
but
is
at
an
the
extreme
rate
number.
It's
we're
an
going,
extreme number.
It's an extreme number.
It's up there. We're probably at over, what, 30,000?
We're under that. I would
Probably
say.
approaching 30.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, we have to be mindful, of the amount that we're spending. So there should be some type of a cap. Now, y'all can make that as high as you want.
It's always going to be 20,000.
There
This is
there
different.
should be some type of a cap for the amount of
Oh,
professional
per
development
individual. I got you.
that's coming out of the general fund. quite honestly, I think that as a board, we should take a look at the number of out-of-state, professional development that we're attending. That's when the expense really comes in. I know that, you know, OSBA has some things that we enjoy. Some of the better ones are probably out of state, but I really think we need to come to the table at maybe early on in the year and have some discussions about potential professional development to make sure that we do not spend more than is necessary, especially with new buildings.
Go right ahead, Vice President.
What I'd like to ask is if we can find as a board, because Member Mumin, I agree with you, but I also disagree. It does help when more than one board member attends, because you can conquer and divide. One board member cannot go to,
I didn't say,
okay, so I misunderstood, so I do apologize.
say one board member. It could be 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So
The
I'll,
entire board doesn't need to go to the same workshop.
so all I would like to say is if, at the beginning of the year, if we can find all of the school board oriented, professional development opportunities, and we dedicate a work session to discussing what's involved, because I know, Michelle, this time you're going to NASB, right, in November?
I'm going to the Council of Great City Schools and NAPSI.
Okay, NAPSI.
Are you going to NAPSI too?
Of course,
She
are you
said
going
she
to?
was- She's going to NAPSI, but anyway,
You going to NAPSI too?
Oh, I'm not going to NAPSI.
Oh, I thought you said you
what
was
I'd
going.
like to see us do is to sit down and look at all of the, professional development opportunities that are relative to this district, because if I'm not mistaken, the great city schools are for larger districts, and we don't fit in that category. But I would like us to sit down as a board, look at all of the potential opportunities, and discuss, and figure out who wants to go where, because we don't always have to go to CUBE, we don't always have to go to, NSBA.
Right.
We don't always have to go to Capitol Conference either. I'd like us to go to some different conferences to see what else is out there.
Exactly.
So I just have a comment.
Go right ahead.
So let me just say this, the 2 conferences that I'm going to was cheaper than CUBE. So, me personally, the emails that come to us, those are what I read and how I get the information, but then I also network with other school board members. And yes, the Council of Great City Schools is for larger school districts, but it's for urban school districts just like ours. So the only difference is any school district can go. The only difference is the fee that you pay. That's the only difference. So,
Well, we're not a member, and last year I did attend, and Superintendent Jolly attended, and I attended for free, thanks to Eric Gordon with Cleveland Municipal.
It was here in Cleveland.
Correct, but it didn't cost the district a penny. And I went to it, and maybe I just tailgated off of Eric, but as far as Ms. Mumin, I'm like with Tracy, I mean, one member can't represent and go to one thing and
Not in the same
no, I understand, but, I mean, you were saying somebody could represent and go to one thing, and I understand that, but we all need personal development. I mean, as you guys know, and you approved that I could be on CUBE, so I'm mandated to go to any NSBA or any CUBE event. But I've got 2019 already. I mean, if you guys want it, I know it. If you want to go, and you can get with Dr. Rock or Alicia, but I got 2019 already decided. I mean, we probably going to Miami, so we're going back to Miami in September, and we got the national in Philly at the end of March. So that's the only 2 things I can offer y'all as far as some type of personal development is NSBA, which we got to talk to Tom and get more for urban districts in CUBE. But I think this year's CUBE, and I'll have Mr. Jolly address it maybe on the 22nd, it was the best one I've been to, and the first one Mimi took me in 2015. But I think this was the better CUBE because they talked about wraparound services, they talked about social part of it with children. I mean, we just want to educate them and hope they get an A on the report card, but you don't know what that child is going through with their family, domestic violence, not eating. You got to touch on those lives of those kids. So I think this one was better, much better, to me.
It was.
To me. So, but.
So can I ask, as far as the action plan is concerned, do we want to formally kind of,
Well, we're not going to approve anything until 19, but yeah, we can look at it from Dr. Ruff. You saying look at it to approve something?
we could do it at a work session, but
I mean, for the 2019 season?
No, I'm just saying in terms of the action plan as far as.
Oh, action plan.
Approving, seminars in advance and then even discuss, what does it look like if we're asking, or do we want to do approvals for reimbursements? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, do we want to do this? We had discussion about it, but do we want to do it? Do we want to ask for approval, prior approval for seminars, and do we want to ask for prior approval for any reimbursements to be paid?
This is for 2019 you're talking about, right? Because 2018 is done.
Is it done, but you still have conferences that you're.
Hers is already
My
booked.
stuff is already booked and paid for, so you can't vote on something that's already booked and paid for.
I did not.
She didn't
know-
say vote.
I did not know that your stuff was already.
Yeah,
booked
she's
and paid
booked.
for.
I'm leaving in less than 30 days.
Well, Michelle, you didn't tell anybody.
No, I said that
Okay,
a
okay.
month and a half
Look,
ago.
Please
No, no, no.
stop, please stop, please stop.
My
Please.
question
I would
is,
like to just ask
but-
if
but
that's. the
can I
case,
finish
then-
my question?
No, I wanna
Hold on,
finish
hold on,
what
hold
I
on.
was
Let her,
saying.
hold on.
Can I finish
Just
my
give me
question?
one second. Will you let her finish, please?
Thank you, thank you. Because if that's the case, then, so what I'm hearing then is we don't need to take any action. for
We
the
do
rest
need
of
to
the year?
We do need to take action, but I mean, who knows what next year brings? I don't know.
But what if somebody wants to do something in December? What if there's something else that comes up? Are
It's
we
gonna
not
be on the 2018 organizational budget that we already said it. It's already said.
necessarily on the 2018 budget?
Yeah, we did an organization meeting in January.
I said if somebody wanted to
They could
attend.
go. They could go.
Well, you can,
All right.
you can
I'm-
explore some language like we did on the deficit policy.
I definitely want to explore some
Would you like
language.
me to do
That's,
some research on some
Yes,
language
yes,
and
thank you.
take it from there?
Definitely do that.
I would be-
I thought we was moving. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Owen. Go ahead, Ms. Owen.
So, and I guess my question was, this is for 2019 we're talking about, because our service fund goes from January to December. And so to have something like this go, you can't even we can discuss it now, but you can't vote on it until 2019 because it can't affect 2018. And so that's number one. Number two, I mentioned to you guys several months ago about the NAPSI because Ms. Mitchell said, yeah, I would have loved to have gone to that, whatever. So I feel offended and resented that you never said anything, nobody never knew. I mentioned everything.
NAPSI you did, but
I-
not Great City Schools. I did not know about Great City Schools, so I apologize.
Ms. Gaten?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
So, Dr. Rock, if you can, just look at that and we could look at it for next year.
Could I please canvass the board to see who's going to Philadelphia? Because the early registration and,
Dr. Rock, I have to go.
okay.
So, anything
So
that says
Mr. Freeman?
NSBA, you can mark my name on it, but y'all don't have to, I'll handle it myself, so, yeah.
And I would like to go.
Mrs.
You wanna
Moomin?
go?
Wanna go, Barbara? You wanna do something?
Mrs. Elba, are you going to Philadelphia?
I will let you know by the end of next week.
Oh, okay, well, that's beyond the early registration.
Early registration, Dr.
It's
Rock.
the 11th.
Go ahead and put me down in
It's 11th.
Thursday.
It's this Thursday.
Oh, it opens on the 11th. Okay.
Right.
What's
October.
today's date? The 9th?
Put me down as well.
The 8th? I'll let you know by the 10th,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
And also, advocacy is coming up too, so you might want to look at that date.
But that one already well, that registration started already for advocacy and equity. It started September 28th.
Oh, okay, I didn't know it started that early. It's in Washington,
It's in
D.C.
Washington, D.C.
So Trace, did you say you wanted to go to Philly or no? Well, that's your backyard, so there's something back there. All right.
Nobody wants to go to the Advocacy Institute and learn about legislation,
So I
policies, and
want to look
things
into
of that
it.
nature, and walk on Capitol Hill and meet your senators and Republicans? Not really.
Is it a lot of, there's a lot of men of color? Are they gonna make decisions on colored kids?
At the same time, right? Isn't it right around the same time that
No.
equity?
It's right, ours end up Saturdays, theirs starts Sunday
It
afternoon.
is around the same time.
Yeah, it's the next day.
I'll decide which one I would possibly like to attend one, but,
Equity is good to go to. I mean, I would suggest it. It's only like 200 something, but.
all right.
All right, 5.4 is Chat and Chew update. We did have a projected date of 20th. I guess that date has changed, board? We haven't did any marketing, any,
Changed again?
no, we haven't marketed. We're sitting at, the, what, 9th?
Yep.
tomorrow?
Once again,
I mean, we can try to do a makeshift Chat and Chew.
I don't think it will be successful
Nope.
because there's no advertisement
There you
going
go.
out. just discussion here at the table, but that's just my opinion,
I would agree.
So are we as a board want to do this before the end of the year? I mean, we only got 2 months.
I think we need to do it, it's just that we need to set a date and start advertising the next day, period. We spend a lot of time talking and we fall short on the marketing.
I'm proud of you, Michelle. You said we.
I always say we.
That's the second time we.
So, but we fall short on the marketing.
You said we,
So,
sure.
I think if we're gonna set a date for November, then we need to start marketing like tomorrow.
So then we need to set the date today.
Yeah.
Let me look at a schedule real quick, November. And I know Dr. Rock asked, and did Alicia already booked everybody for, Capitol Conference, Dr. Rock?
Yes.
Who's going to Capitol Conference?
I'm going. You going?
That's it. Mrs.
You going,
Newman,
Ms.
Mr.
Miller?
Freeman.
Did you register for capital?
Pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
You going?
I think I'm the only one not going.
Oh, okay. So that's the 12th and
I'm
13th.
not going. I'm having a, yeah, I'm having a family situation that,
So we're just 3 going?
yeah.
All right.
I'll be there Sunday.
It's Crown Plaza Hotel she got. I don't know what dates, but
All right, so calendar for November.
I'm looking at it now.
So in case anybody didn't hear that, I'm a moderator at the conference, so
Yeah, we didn't have to register you because you're a
That's right.
presenter.
that's right.
Beautiful. I'm a presenter too then.
What are you presenting on?
Board conflict.
You're doing board conflict? No, I was asking Michelle what
Oh,
was she
I'm sorry.
moderating on?
I'm doing board conflict, Ms. Jolly.
I don't remember. I'll have to look it up and see.
You don't remember?
I don't. I've got a lot going on, so no, I don't. But yes, I am.
When you do
I
find
was
out, would you like
asked-
to share that with the board?
But I did share that with you guys several months ago when I was
You were a
asked to
presenter?
be. I was asked to do that. I didn't seek it out. They asked me to do it.
God, they be wanting you to do everything. I'm sorry, but I didn't know. Dr. Rock, well, Mimi, I'm looking at November, and like Saturday's the 10th or the 17th.
17th, I
It's
can't.
bad. And then you're looking at a holiday weekend, the 24th.
No, so then we probably won't be doing anything until December.
That's around Christmas. It would be that 22nd, 15th, or the 8th.
look at the 8th, December the 8th.
December 8th?
And that would give us
Can we check in library again, or what are you guys thinking?
So the library for
December 8th?
every Saturday for this month is booked. I did.
I'm talking about
book us-
December.
For this year, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
here. You
For
said-
this year, when I was looking for dates, every Saturday is booked. I did book us a Saturday in January because everything is filling up fast. So it's easier to cancel than to try to
Yeah,
get.
we don't have to have it there. That's just a suggestion. We don't have.
I
So
thought we
we
had already
don't
said we
have
was doing it in
to-
the high school.
That was for October.
But I'm just saying, why don't we just
We can have it here.
plan something here at the high school?
Right.
And then that way we don't have to worry about constantly trying to find a place.
Right.
So,
I'm cool with
and I
that.
guess, and here's the question, and I'm throwing this out again. Then if we have it here on the weekend, then we're looking at salaries. And if we're talking about saving money, you're looking at salaries because the building's not
Huh?
open. So
Saturdays.
They're doing it in the morning.
who works Saturday?
Janitor does, but they done at 11, I think.
The rec center is open on Saturdays.
Yeah, but the building is not. The high school is not open, but the rec center is open.
Till 1 o'clock.
So I'm just asking questions.
And I'm just saying,
Charlie,
till
is
1
that,
o'clock.
is that gonna be a negative impact for us to try to
No,
do
we
something?
we can have him, no, we won't. We can make that work.
We're at the rec center then.
She said in the high school.
That's at the high school.
Oh, I thought somebody said rec center. I'm sorry.
No, the high school.
No, we can just use the, home ec room, something in that athletic hallway. Wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we can use the high school. So what date are we looking at?
The 8th.
That's by 2 people. I mean, are y'all the whole
Tentatively
board?
gonna say okay on December 8th. I don't know for sure, but, you know, you guys have.
Michelle? 8th? No?
I can't do an early start because I do have a doctor's appointment that morning.
On the
11 a.m.? Would that be good, 11? Better?
I didn't hear you. What you say?
11 a.m. is good.
11 a.m. on the 8th?
Yeah. I mean, we're only trying to do a 1 or 2 hour, right? We're not trying to be there all
So,
day.
2 hours, hour and a half.
Yeah, and the janitor leaves at 1, don't he?
Just 1 o'clock.
So if we're talking December 8th, but is this gonna be the actual date, because it is, then we need to start advertising tomorrow, because you have some people, some buildings that are gonna be having events coming up, but you just said that tentative, that it may or may not work.
Superintendent Jelly, can you check with the high school?
As long as there's enough board members, we
Yeah,
can
no,
go with it.
If you give me a go, I'll have Kayla.
December
I'll
8th,
have
just put
Kayla
December
start
8th.
the advertising. You give me the date, I'll
December
start it
8th, if we can get the building.
at 11 a.m.
Yep.
at the high school.
Chat and shoe.
I'll have her start advertising tomorrow.
Beautiful. Any other questions about that, board? So we have projected, Mr. Jolly will know, and you'll let us know? Okay. Next on our board agenda, new business board, educational goals, or Board of Education goals. Vice President, if you want to touch base, I know we went over these in April this year.
I'm gonna leave it to, Member Gator. She asked that we put them on the board. We
Okay.
have not touched on our goals.
Correct.
I did print the last, iteration of what we agreed to as a, board for our deliverables. I think, Member Gator, you shared that you wanted us to just kind of review to see where we were relative to the goals.
Yeah, I mean, really, that was really all I wanted was, and we established these goals, and I'm just not really sure where we are with them. What's our next steps? What do we still need to do? And then I did, mention to Member Mitchell that, it would be nice to see these on the district website, So that's really all I'm asking, is for us to take a look at our goals and see where we are and, just kind of start getting some feedback on it. I personally think something we should have some kind of discussion on, at every work session.
So
I
if we,
think we should discuss them.
so if we start with goal number 1, we had 2 deliverables. If everybody sees this in their folder.
That's
Um,
appreciation. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I'm just
We
reading.
had 2 deliverables. District administrators use several data sources to monitor and manage scholars' learning programs as we work toward closing the achievement gap. An effort to better understand how best to leverage this data, as well as the portal systems housing the data. The members of the school board have asked Mr. Jolly to use an upcoming work session to prepare an educational session to help us know how to use district data to make an informed decision. The second one was commending educators and scholars for academic achievements. We'd like to celebrate both high and low performers, looking at scholars with the most improvement in a defined period. We want to ensure that we're recognizing a diverse group of celebrants. And then we had 2 items under that one as well. For the first goal, we did have Dr. Kaver and Bailey. We had the team come in, and they did provide an overview and helped us better understand the data, where it comes from, how it's used. And I thought we had a good discussion about that. There didn't seem to be any follow-up questions behind that. So unless the board doesn't feel that we completed that, we need to speak now and say we need more information, need more educational sessions, or either we would mark that one as complete.
So, I don't know about, I think, I kind of envision it as being an ongoing thing. Educational session, but when you say educational session, you're talking about the presentations and then.
This was when we were asking.
I'm just asking, that's what you're referring to.
No, I'm kind of going back to Michelle. You were asking, how was the data compiled? Where does it come from? And that's where this goal came from. We wanted to make sure we, as a board, understood all of the data that was coming in to populate how we're measuring academic performance. And so Dr. Jolly, good grief. Mr. Jolly arranged for the team to come in and provide an educational session for us to teach us about the data, where it came from, how it's used.
All right, so I'm good with
The only thing that we and we have done it, Mr. Jolly, the second item, part of that was to establish a calendar of set timing on when the data will be presented. And Mr. Jolly has been providing ongoing updates with the data and performance. So again, unless we as a board feel that we're not meeting these that particular deliverable, we need to either amend it or add more to it.
So when I look at this one, it says to establish a calendar or set timing on when data will be presented. So is that something that we can do? And like, I know we're just finishing the marking period, so would that be?
Right, so we have benchmark assessments that we just recently gave. We can provide data after we have our benchmark assessments. But part of it is that we would like to hopefully explain to you that sometimes the benchmark assessments don't look good because we are testing where students are. And then that's how we drive our intervention. So I don't see any issue with, as we give benchmark assessments, which are every quarter, we can come and provide a update.
I think a great indicator, and just seeing Bailey at work, I think that helps a lot. I mean, even before these grades came out in June in the preliminary, she was on the money. I mean, she was on the money week by week by week of what she said, because she looked at the data. She knows what every actual grading grading was. She knew the third grader, she knew the fourth, she knew the fifth, and she had that data, and that's how she was on the money. She's like, Mr. Freeman, we will not get
Right.
that.
So we can, we received our EVAS data, that's the value-added data. We can provide an overview of what that's telling us. We can provide an overview of where our graduation rate looks. We can give an overview of what our K-3 literacy looks. And then we can give some overall, just where we think we are in reference to our benchmark assessments, which are directly tied to our scope and sequence. As we has transformed our education in our district, monitoring where students are has been essential in our interventions that we are providing our students. So we do have checkpoints in where they are. I will caution that when you do this, it's messy. I mean, these are messy scores. Kids haven't got a whole year's curriculum. Teachers, we find that some teachers don't know certain curriculum that we have to go in and help the teacher or provide, or have our team go in and help the teacher or so forth. So, like at Westwood today, they were going over the 3 essentials, main idea, context clues at Westwood today. But it wasn't the main teacher that was going over it. Each teacher took one area and taught that one subject to all the students. So a lot of creative things are going on in the buildings. Once we see data, we are able to make adjustments. So I caution that sometimes early data looks it doesn't look as good as it might later, because we're figuring out exactly where we are so we can provide interventions. But we can, at the next meeting or November meeting, give an update on our benchmarks, give a K-3 literacy update, and we could give a graduation rate update, actually. Those are things that we're looking at this point. In our EVAS data, I do think the board needs to understand EVAS, that's the progress, that's the value-added data. And it really does tell a story, and you can pinpoint exactly where our weak points are. And I just reviewing the data last week, ELA is our strength. Math, we have challenges in certain areas. Science, we have challenges in certain areas. It does not test social studies, though. In science, and I could go through the screens and share that. It's called EVAS, but basically what it is value-added data. So it's 3-year data. EVAS, yes. That's the portal it's on, but it's value-added data.
And one thing I got to give it to you, Superintendent Jelly, and I just know when you got the grades here on September 13th, you're already looking at May of 2019, and you're working on it, and you're seeing some areas that we can improve in that will move that needle even more in the upper direction as far as our grading as an overall district. So,
yeah, I mean, I think with the changes in the report cards, a lot of people don't understand the components or how to get grades in each component. I think our team has I'm not going to say master, but we have an understanding of each component and what we need to do to earn certain grades in each component. But ultimately, it just comes down to teaching and learning. I mean, it just comes down to good instruction, good teaching, every single day. It comes down to having good principals who support our teachers and provide them with the resources. And that's where I think we are. We are at a place where we have good principals who support our teachers on a daily basis. And of course, you're gonna have people who don't like people and all those things, but on a consistent basis, and I'll offer anybody the opportunity to come visit the schools and see, you'll see good instruction across the board. Improved instruction, and we still have areas that of concern. I mean, math is a concern. Science is a concern. But as you see our kids coming through, and I keep saying it, the younger ones is coming up from John Dewey to Westwood. I think our first group is in 4th grade now, that were in kindergarten when we came. The scores are off the charts because they have the foundation. They can read, they can write, and they can think critically, which are the 3 essential things to a great education. So as we continue to build the environment and continue to have data sources, because data drives instruction. We don't just do things out of the air and say, this kid needs this or this kid needs that. It's all based on what we see. And what we just took NWEA test. I mean, we only have 14 kids that's on RIMS. That's reading intervention plans at Westwood. I mean, we probably had 40 last year. I mean, and I'll tell you something Mr. Vaughn did. He went and gave all the 1st grade teachers at Eastwood a medal for what they did last year, and he also gave the principal some flowers because they appreciate that the kids are coming better prepared. And that's a testimony just to the staff here and them buying in to what we're doing. And what we're doing is providing resources, professional development, and support to our teachers. And one of the challenges that we see, I just was talking to Vaughn today at Westwood, is that now we have an issue of having high kids and teachers not accustomed to having a lot of kids that's real high. You know, they used to having, for whatever reason, mid-level and low students. But now you got a whole students that can read, who can think critically, and you're not really prepared to teach them. And that is something, it's just like when you have a class full of students that have challenges, you have to adjust your instruction for them the same way you have to adjust it for the kids who are advanced. And that was one of the challenges, because now people, you know, the history there, you don't have no smart kids and all the negative stuff people say. That's not true. So we're working on that.
Thank-
I want to ask you a really quick question. So are you able to establish data to show how well the single-gender classes are going? Is that something you could provide?
Yeah, we can provide that. We were just talking about that the other, last week also, because, you know, and looking at who did better last year on 3rd grade, guaranteed the single-gender boys class, I think did the
And
best.
then there's a girls' class too.
Right, but they're in 2nd grade, so they didn't take the time.
Gotcha.
No, we did have a single-gender 3rd grade class, though. I'll have that data, we'll provide it.
I'm just curious to see how well that is working.
Now, for the next 2 months, we will have just one meeting, so you'll have enough time to provide it for the November one meeting?
Yeah, we could do it November meeting. We'll have a lot on the 22nd with the construction, but on the November meeting. we can
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Who's going to Capitol Conference?
Everybody but me.
Okay, so Capitol Conference is the same day as the board meeting, in case anybody wasn't, were we aware of that?
We don't do a, we only do one meeting in November.
Isn't it the 12th?
That would be,
It's the 12th. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm coming back on Monday.
I got on here November 19th.
19th.
It's the
Oh,
19th.
did we do the 19th?
Yeah, that's what I got on my
That was-
schedule, because we looked at that as November 19th. It's after the,
Okay,
We have December and the 19th for
The
November.
19th.
We
Okay.
looked at all that.
What is
beginning of the year. The 10th.
December 10th?
We looked at all of that when we prepared the,
Correct.
Okay.
Meeting
the
schedule for
19th.
2018.
Oh, I got it. Yes, I do. I haven't.
any announcements,
Well, wait,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If there's no way that we're gonna make it through all of the board goals tonight. So is this, we should just keep this on the agenda
Yeah, I think Mimi just wanted to make us aware of it.
and, be prepared to discuss it at our future meetings, just to see where
Work
we
session.
are, what we're doing, some reminders, because as I'm looking at communication, we've done some, we've not done a lot. We started off really good, and then we started off hot, and we ran cold.
question. We have 2 meetings left. Clearly, we won't be working. We won't be doing any working for this remainder of this year, clearly. So are we looking at establishing a new goal for January, or are we just going to fall short until next year? Because either we're gonna do a work session in November, or we're gonna have a regular meeting. It's because if we do them both, we can. It will just be a little longer in the meeting, so.
So I thought, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I thought when we set out to establish our goals for this year, we said they would go through the full
December, I
school
think.
year, because we would not be able to do everything in a shortened period of time.
No.
It just wasn't physically possible.
No, we said that, but I'm just asking because we are sporadic with viewing them. So are we gonna wait until January to view them again? Is that what I'm hearing?
So I misunderstood your question.
Okay.
I thought you were asking, were we gonna shelve these goals and start afresh? in
No.
January?
I'm
So
just saying.
I apologize, because I misunderstood what you
Right.
asked.
Okay, all right.
So.
Is that the thought, the consensus, what everybody thought, that we were just gonna hold off on these, because we've already fallen short with, until January to kinda pick back up and move forward with our goals?
I don't think so. I think that.
I
it
would
should
like
be
to,
enough.
if the board's willing, I do want to touch base on the communication piece. I mean, that's the piece that I think we should get established before this year runs out, and I can briefly address it on the 22nd. So, I mean, it'd be very simple. I mean, we don't have to chime in.
Well, we haven't finished going through everything with
Correct.
Ward one,
Correct.
Goal one. So I think, to your point, Michelle, that's what I was trying to say. Do we keep this on the agenda, as Member Gator was initially thinking, so that at each meeting, we can discuss, especially since we only have 2 more for the
Yeah,
balance
but our
of the-
goals might change in 19, though.
we just said they won't. We're gonna carry these goals through the end of the school year. Then we will review them again and.
Okay. I
and
mean, if you
plan
think
or
they'll
figure
change,
out-
that's fine.
There shouldn't be any change.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead
So,
and
I guess-
continue, Ms. Mitchell.
I'm done. I am.
I mean, we looked at this in October 2017.
We haven't-
Okay, but wait a minute, but,
Yeah.
so I think, and I just wanna clarify, because I think what Ms. Mitchell is saying, keep it on the agenda and let's continue to keep discussing it, even
fine.
though, but
I'm-
wait a minute. And then have them end in June, and then we can start to go back maybe
June?
and,
Oh.
yes, because our goals technically are supposed to go from August to June. But because we started on these back in January, they just
Correct.
seem a little longer.
Correct.
So my question was, do we want to have work session and board meeting for the last 2 meetings so we can continue to move forward on the goals instead of not addressing them until January? Because it's fine that, Mr. Freeman, you want to address the communication, but there's 5 of us here that may also want to address communication or anything else on the, as far
got
as the
you.
goals.
So it's up to the board if you want to touch them or not. I mean, we can always leave them on there for
So I
discussion.
think what she's asking is, do we want to establish another meeting, a work session meeting? in
It's up to you
November?
guys. I mean,
Or
I'm
if
the
not
power
even,
of y'all.
even if not even establish one, but maybe say, our next meeting is November 19th. Maybe take the first hour and let's discuss our goals and tie the 2 together. So maybe the first hour, discuss our goals, and then the next piece after that, then we go into the agenda. That's the only way that we seem to really are going to be able to stay on task, because if we don't discuss it, it tends to fall off.
Can I make a suggestion? I don't have an issue with that, but can we flip it? Can we handle the business first?
Mhm.
And then do our discussion the last hour?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I'm just
Okay.
trying to think of ways that we can do this so we don't let it fall through the cracks again.
And just another suggestion, instead of trying to go through the whole thing, maybe we just select sections of it, so it doesn't have to be a whole hour. We just need to get keep the discussion going and keep some kind of momentum with it.
So,
I think that's a good idea.
We can do that on the 11th, meeting the 19th, and we'll just do
So-
business.
I have another question since we're
Correct.
still on new business. This retreat that's coming up,
Correct.
were we not supposed to have input, or is this just something they just tell us what we're gonna do for a board retreat and we just do it? Because to me, a board retreat means we all have input on what we feel is important to discuss. Yes, we did a survey, but maybe somebody wanted to feel like we need to discuss something pressing, and that will be the time to do it. Or because I'm confused as how this came out. And then I thought, when we had the paper that came out, it had different times on it. Now I'm seeing this has different times than what the original notice went out for?
It did have different times because people said they worked on Friday and they couldn't be there at 5 o'clock. I thought it was at 5 o'clock, the proposal.
It's 5 to 7, I thought.
Right.
So, but that
No, it was
hasn't
5 to-
changed, has it?
Yeah, it's now 6 to
O'clock She
9.
wants to start it. She wants to start it at 6.
So,
But
but
it's six-
the original notice that came out said 4:30 to 9.
Oh, I don't remember being that.
Yeah, that came out when we all got the
Oh,
notice.
I don't remember that.
So
I
then,
did remember 5 o'clock.
no, it said 4:30.
It's 6 to 9, let's move on.
It's 6, well, no, but my question is, I don't care about the time. My question is, do we not have input on something that we're calling a board retreat, or are we just gonna show up and just be there?
She said she was gonna do input as we were there. She wanted to have one-on-one conversations with board members.
Did, you sent everybody the agenda?
Only
right?
one that didn't.
It,
we had
Dr.
one
Rock had
certain-
it attached to the, 5-year
Yeah,
forecast.
yeah, attached
Yeah.
it. I just got it.
They get attached.
So Fridays is 6 to 9, and Saturdays is 9 to 3:30.
Correct.
Sorry.
Because the flyer said it was Saturday from 7 to 4.
What flyer?
What? I don't remember that.
The one that Alicia sent the email, and then we got it in the mail, and it said 7:30 to 4, and then it had 4:30 to 9,
You mean the notice?
the notice.
Yeah, we'll adjust it to this
Okay.
if you agree.
I mean, if
That's
you
what-
guys want it early, I'm sure if I send it. Oh, okay. I mean,
A 9 to 3:30.
6 to 9 is fine.
6 work? I guess my question is, does 5 o'clock work for people? I was just concerned
I
about
thought it did, but.
Michelle and Mimi, because you guys are downtown and you're in the city, and are we able to do 5 o'clock?
Well, I had set my schedule for 4:30 when I saw the notice come out, so I'm free for 4:30 because that was the notice that came
What
out.
did she do?
Are you able
I
to?
had arranged for the 5 o'clock. I thought it was 5 to 7.
I thought it was too many.
Yeah,
I-
so yeah, I'm,
Well,
whatever
She
works for
changed it.
everybody is fine with me.
No, if she's going off of what we want.
But we didn't know that
Right.
we didn't.
Okay, time out. Today, I was concerned
Yes.
that those folks that work from
Yes.
8 to 5 may not.
And I
get
sent
it.
her an email.
I didn't see the notice that said anything about 4:30 to whatever time. So I apologize. I was trying to be.
That's all right, 'cause I thought it was 5 o'clock.
Caring about, because normally folks say they can't do 5 o'clock. So can you call Deborah to see
I'll-
if she
I'll
can
email
move
him.
it back to 5 o'clock, please?
Yeah, that's the problem. And Dr. Rock, is that good for you and Mr. Dillon?
I'll be there.
I'll let you know in the morning. I mean, what time is it now? It's 8:30. I mean, I'm sure she's with her husband, but I'll let you know.
So
all right.
I guess my question was, you said she's going to take input from us.
No, I
They
asked
have-
her, I said, how do you do it? She said she says that survey plays a big role, and then she watched our videos, and she's having one-to-one conversation with the board. And I think
She have a one-on-one conversation, you mean one-on-one or one-to-one her with the board?
with the board, like,
Okay.
having the board input, like, it's almost like, all right, y'all here at this table, boom, 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 this is what the survey said, this is what I see on these videos, and then she's making us make that decision,
It's,
boom, what they say.
she
just
has
on the
her
fly.
own agenda.
So
Right.
she has a program she put, she has, that
She put it
puts
in there.
together,
Mhm.
and she follows that program.
Correct.
So Michelle, to your point, beyond that survey, no, we don't have any additional input.
Prior to input, you're gonna have a bunch of input per,
It's not what she has.
no, I understand, I know, no, I understand.
So, another option guys, is we do retreats twice a year. The next retreat would be something more structured that is, geared at what the board would like to see.
Correct. But that is Friday. Any announcements, Dr. Rock? I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Okay, there will be some announcements. Our superintendent did win an award. And we'll talk about it on 22nd, and they also offered him to be on a committee for the grading, so congratulations, and we'll talk about that on the 22nd.
Tomorrow, I go down to BASA. I was recommended to be on the grade
Right.
committee, so I'll be representing the first ring and mid-size urban districts at that meeting.
All right. Any other board business before I ask for adjournment? At this time, could I have an adjournment for tonight's work session? October- Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I move that this board adjourn the October 8th work session meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Blumen, pay attention.
Say
Say
yes.
yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
I
Ms.
didn't-
Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.